Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the latest Spider-Man news. Sony have just had a huge presentation at the CinemaCon panel, and we got what we wanted. They have given us finally some updates for Spider-Man 4, which is now called Spider-Man Brand New Day, and Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. There is so much that we have to discuss for today's video. It's going to be a very interesting one. If you guys are Marvel fans or DC fans, this is going to be the channel for you. This is where we do talk about everything in regards to the MCU and the DCU. So if that thing is for you, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Also like this video, I would really appreciate it. So let's talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day first. So it is official, Sony is officially going to be releasing Tom Holland's next Spider-Man movie on July 31st, 2026. It's going to be a big year for Marvel in general. We're going to be having Avengers Doomsday, which releases on May 1st, 2026. Spider-Man Brand New Day, which releases 2 months after on July 31st, 2026. Daredevil Born Again, which will release early 2026. And then it is expected that X-Men 97 will be releasing around the end of 2026, most likely between September and November. We're also going to be getting a Punisher special presentation that will be released alongside Daredevil Born Again Season 2. So this whole idea of Spider-Man Brand New Day and its title has already been released to the media in public. Like, we have had this in our hands over the past few months since October 17th, 2024, but nobody at that time actually believed it. And it states here that following the events of Doomsday, Peter Parker is determined to lead a normal life and focus on college, stepping back from his responsibilities as Spider-Man. However, peace is short-lived when a deadly new threat emerges, endangering his friends and forcing Peter to reconsider his promise. With stakes higher than ever, Peter reluctantly returns to his Spider-Man identity and finds himself teaming up with unlikely ally to protect those he loves. We do not know if this is like the most accurate representation of what the plot is going to be, but we'll see as time does go by. But here's what gets very interesting. Because this is called Spider-Man Brand New Day, there is an exact title of this in the comics, and this comic Brand New Day does follow up after the events of One More Day. And during the events of Brand New Day, we find out that Peter Parker's marriage with Mary Jane does get erased and his identity is forgotten, starting from the Brand New Day storyline. I know that does sound very familiar. This is exactly what went on in Spider-Man No Way Home. So after the events of One More Day, Peter Parker undergoes a significant reset. Now, there are other details about this storyline that does not align with what Spider-Man in the MCU is about to go through. Like, for example, in the Brand New Day storyline, Aunt May is alive, but we all know that in the MCU, Aunt May is no longer alive. There has also been some plots about Peter Parker meeting Harry Osborn, who everybody thought was dead, but he is alive, and he has been revealed to be living in Europe. Once again, we don't know if we're going to have the exact adaptation to this storyline in the MCU, but the whole general idea is that Spider-Man is going to be resetting his life in the Brand New Day storyline after the events of One More Day. What Kevin Feige basically did is, okay, we're going to create this movie called No Way Home, right? A big multiverse film, and it's going to be a adaptation to One More Day. And with this Brand New Day title being confirmed, they're going to be following the exact same premise, now go detail to detail on the story. The whole idea is that he's starting from scratch, and this is what's very important because this is what's going to allow for the MCU Spider-Man in the fourth film to be grounded, because you're taking that approach of going back to the basics after a big multiversal event. Nobody knows who you are. Just protect your identity, make sure that you get your life in order, and just continue to protect your hometown, which is New York. So once again, I would not bother trying to read the comic Brand New Day because No Way Home was a loose adaptation to One More Day, and the same thing is going to go on with the fourth film. This also explains the reason why Destin Daniel Cretton was hired to make Spider-Man 4, because we are going to be having a very grounded film that contains brutal fights, very similar to what we saw with Shang-Chi. You saw those fights. It was brutal. It was very much aggressive and intense. Just imagine, right, how we saw the fight between Daredevil and Muse in Daredevil Born Again Episode 6. The fight was intense. It was amazing. It was very fast-paced. They're going to be aiming to do the exact same choreography in Spider-Man 4. And this is something that we have not seen in the first 3 films for Tom Holland. So it is a brand new take, and I can't wait to see that. I believe believe that this is also telling us that within that debate between Sony and Marvel and how they wanted Spider-Man 4 to be, like what the storyline should be, I believe Marvel have won. I believe that Marvel won this argument about whether it should be a multiversal film or a grounded film. Clearly, with this title alone, it does tell us that this will be a grounded film, hence the reason why Destin Daniel Cretton was hired. Sony wanted a film where they can introduce their villains in the fourth film. Most importantly, Venom. There is a reason why Tom Hardy recently spoke about him wanting his character to meet Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but it never came into fruition. Tom Hardy did state that Spider-Man and Venom crossover film was very close to happening, but because of the studio politics, it prevented from that happening. And he stated, I would have loved to have done it because that just means so much fun. But Marvel did have different ideas. Marvel said, keep Venom. We will save that for a later time. What we need is a grounded film, have some multiversal elements because it does take place after Avengers Doomsday, and we're going to keep it very focused on Spider-Man. The director also explained that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to be getting a brand new suit in the fourth film. So whatever we saw in the ending of No Way Home, they're going to be moving away from that and have a different one. We'll see what they give to Tom Holland. I don't know if they're going to give him a nanotech suit or just a plain old normal suit that we saw at the end of No Way Home, but with different colors, or maybe even a different texture. Moving on towards the next conversation, and now let's talk about Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. This is going to be the first look of Miles Morales versus the Prowler. Very interesting, right? The colors are amazing. The animations already look outstanding, and they have stated that Beyond the Spider-Verse will be releasing on June 4th, 2027, which will be after Avengers Secret Wars. The fact that they're going to be releasing this movie after Avengers Secret Wars, we'll be talking about that in a whole other separate video because it just takes a whole other like 10 to 15 minutes to explain. But as of now, let's talk about what this film has been described as. And they have stated that Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to be bigger than the past two films and picks up right after the last one. Phil Lord, who is the director, also described it as a massive and bold finale with brand new animations. It's more ambitious, it's bigger, and the team is currently working on new animation techniques. And so like I've said, whatever we're seeing here in these pictures, it does look different and it looks very much original. During the CinemaCon presentation, they have also shown some footage of Beyond the Spider-Verse, and it did show Miles and Gwen reuniting. It also showed that Miles was battling the Prowler, and then the two just set off to another adventure together. And it's kind of wild to even think about this, right? Because the fact that they thought that Beyond the Spider-Verse was supposed to come out around the beginning of 2024, it's insane. Like, bro, like you are off by a total of 5 years. What made them even think that they were going to be able to make Beyond the Spider-Verse 6 to 7 months after the release of Across the Spider-Verse? Many might assume that Sony were trying to lie to us, but here's the thing. I do think that Lord and Miller, who are the directors of these films, they misled Sony. I believe that they have told Sony that Across the Spider-Verse was too long to be one movie. And so they asked Sony if they can split this story into two films. Sony, I believe, agreed, and they thought that it was just one long story being divided. So like you literally just splitting the clips, this film in half, and you separate them into different dates. That is what Sony believed. But what really happened was the directors only finished making half of the movie, which was Across the Spider-Verse, and Sony probably found out around the same time as the public, and they said, oh my god, I thought you were just simply splitting this film in half and we're going to be releasing it into two different dates. But no, the director said this is just half of the story, half of the movie. We have not even begun working on the other half of this story, and it's going to be a whole other separate movie, which is Beyond the Spider-Verse. And that could also explain the reason why the title was changed and why the directors and the actors later also admitted that no work has been done to start the Beyond the Spider-Verse. It was a huge miscommunication, and there has been so many people also explaining that usually when you work with Lord and Miller, these directors, right, they're really hard to work with. This could also explain the reason why Sony is also distancing itself from these two directors. They no longer want to work with them. I know that they can be great creative directors. I mean, like, they have given us two great Spider-Verse films. They're probably going to give us another great film, which is Beyond the Spider-Verse, but many have claimed that they just don't understand how long it takes to create such a movie in terms of animations, the visuals, etc. And there's a lot of miscommunication. Sony did hire these directors back on April 2019, and they signed a 5-year deal with Sony Pictures Television to develop an animated Marvel series, which did include the Into the Spider-Verse series, but they no longer want to work with these directors. There's too many disagreements, even on the budget for Spider-Man Noir. The directors want to spend much more, and Sony just don't want to do that. So I believe that they're going to finish off Beyond the Spider-Verse, make it the best film possible, and just leave it from there. But let me tell you, they are going to try and really land this thing like if it was Avengers Endgame level. So let me know in the comment sections down below, which project are you most excited about? Is it Spider-Man Brand New Day or Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.